Hey everyone, Ryan here at Plague Scythe Studios, and on today's particularly meta edition of Heavy Reflection, I'll be covering some topics and trends that concern this godforsaken website we know as YouTube and guitar journalism in general that I would go so far to say is more of a reflection of people and sociology more than just guitar players as a standalone group. I'm of course talking about reaction videos and drama and plain old gimmicks. And I'll be the first person to say, I don't care how you enjoy your hobby. No one should be able to tell you to not spend money here or save money there or spend your time doing this versus this thing. If you have fun and you're not hurting anyone and it doesn't affect me, who cares? That is the entire point of this industry. It's all for entertainment. We don't need any more music written to survive. It would make living a little lonely and uncreative, but we don't need it. This is all very much a disposable medium in that regard. With that said, when it comes to a lot of this stuff I'm going to discuss, it's sort of hard to avoid. And, if you try to keep up with guitar gear or the industry or music in general, whether it be a particular news outlet or YouTube recommending you the same video or channel time and time again, even though you told it explicitly you're not interested, that's a story for another time. Either way, I could sit here all day and go over all of these things that just boggle the mind, like reaction coach number 5336 reacts to Devin Townsend Kingdom vocals, or Axe Effects is a glorified iPad, or whatever fake outrage is the flavor of the week this time. Instead of that, though, we'll touch on a little bit of it. I wanted to take this opportunity to be a little more self-reflective and self-critical and critical of the audience, because ultimately this stuff wouldn't happen if people didn't watch it. So to facilitate this discussion, let's go through some of my more recent and more popular videos to get an idea of what people are actually wanting to watch. Of course, all of this is going to be apples to apples in terms of comparisons, just due to how long videos have been out, or some of these, maybe it was only my subscribers that are watching and a few random people here and there, or others, maybe hardly any of my subs watch them and it was mostly new audience members. But either way, this should give a, kind of an overview as to my concerns. So I think the typical video view count for me recently has been in the 1,000 to 3,000 views. That's what I would consider like job well done. I'm happy with that. We've got stuff like the full tone OCD video, kind of showing how I would use it and talking about some of the cool stuff associated with it. Studio monitor basics about speaker placement and some of the things you could look for when shopping for speakers. My top 5 gas curing guitar and recording gears, talking about some of the stuff I own that is basically the pinnacle of their class of gear and that I don't feel the need to look further. Metal guitar tones with Nalec software, so people are still wanting to learn about free VSTs, which is pretty cool. We've got the circuit deep dives of the Marshall Bluesbreaker Dallas Rangemaster, things like drive pedal blind shootout, so on and so forth. These are kind of the typical bread and butter, content that I make. That's kind of analytical, deep dive, no nonsense. Let's compare and contrast and see what our ears hear. Now, the next tier up, I would say, of videos would be those that kind of break out into that 4,500 to 5,000 on up to 7,000 to 8,000. That's kind of like, oh, I hit a sweet spot there. Let's see what's going on. And so in that class, most recently, we have the Behringer HM300 and UM300 demo and in-depth review, which of course covers pedals that are based on the Metal Zone and HM2 circuits. Kind of a more popular product. I would argue that a lot of people are already coming into that video with their own, preconceptions, but either way, it was pretty popular. It is the number 2 performer in the first 47 days, so that's pretty cool. On up from that, we have the Klon Centaur, which features a bit of a clickbaity title, if I do say so myself, with why do Klon Centaurs fetch nearly $3,000, which no doubt had an effect on the clickability of that one, ranking number 1 of 10 out of the first 52 days of performance. Moving on, we have the Gear Curiosities Mesa Boogie Cab Clone video, which again, I think is a controversial product that people are already having some opinions about before they even click the video. And of course, the BBE Sonic Maximizer video. Hard ditto on that one. After that, there's kind of this atypical view count for my channel. Anything past like 10,000 views is just crazy for me. I do have some that are pushing 50 to 100K, but overall, this is like stratospheric view counts for me. Most recently, the Gear Curiosities Marshall MS2, which I labeled a great pedal disguised as a pitiful amp, which if the comments are anything to go by, people definitely already had some preconceived notions about the product before they watched it and were kind of seeing what I would do with it. This is an interesting one I might return on in terms of comments, because I don't think the comments actually reflect what the people watch, which is interesting. This one is ranked number 1 of 10 out of the first 14 days with almost double the view count of the video that follows it. So a very comfortable lead there. Further back a couple of years ago, we had the second round of Metallica's Guitar Tone while they were using the Marshall and Wizard amplifiers. This one's fairly encouraging because people want to know how certain tones were achieved by popular bands. So that one sort of makes sense, and I do like that one is one of the more viewed videos on my channel, so that's cool. But beating out all of these is a video I made a couple days ago called Have Modelers Finally Conquered Tube Amps? Pretty clickbaity for me, huh? Now this is a video that I specifically intended to make as kind of a recap for people that don't follow the gear industry as closely as me or probably a lot of you watching. But I also had a bit of an ulterior motive because I knew I'd be making this video and I wanted to see if my prediction would come true, and it very much did. This is a video, I don't play guitar once, I don't show any tones, I just kind of recap, okay, here's what's happened, here's what's not changed, here's my overall opinions on why I think both tube amps and modelers are awesome, and they both have their use cases. The comment section got far more interaction than basically my last like 20 videos combined, and it's on the teeter-totter edge of turning into a dumpster fire. But this isn't a new phenomenon for me or anything. My most viewed video, it's still up on the channel, is my top 5 annoying 7 and 8 string guitar design cliches, which was, again, talking head, no guitar playing, no really, learnable moments, I wouldn't say, besides what I would rather see in the guitar industry. Followed by why I won't buy an Axe FX3, or why I chose the AX8 over the Kemper, or why I probably won't buy an FM3. Those 3 videos combined have more views than like the last 6 months of content I've made. So from my experience, at least with this channel and others like it, it seems people are more worried about the conversations and drama surrounding guitar playing and guitar gear than they are actually about enjoying the hobby and learning about this new equipment, or learning how to use their equipment, or learning how to get better at their instrument, or not even learning, just indulging in it in some capacity. And, part of me isn't surprised, or else soap operas and daytime TV or the TLC channel, at least in its current abominable form, wouldn't exist. And there's plenty of stuff, like this rectifier review or tutorial on how to use EQ pedals, plenty of stuff that broke out and did really well, and that I'm glad people got use out of. But in general, if I want to get, an easy 10, 12,000 views, I'm better off sitting in front of this camera and just talking nonsense. And I do try to make this stuff informative, and I do have an overarching point in this video, of course, but compared to the sometimes 8, 16 hours of work some of these other videos take, it's stupid. And I don't do this for views or for money, obviously. I'm doing this because I want to do it anyway. But I think this is the disconnect between people that are really entrenched into this hobby and what's actually going on. This is one of those scenarios where the comment section, though the very few people that do engage with this stuff, this does not represent the majority of what's going on. If people are requesting, I want to see this amp demoed with this pedal, or can I see, how to use drop tuning in this scenario? Plenty of very logical, cool video ideas I've received, but a lot of them simply aren't worth my time making, even if I want to do them, because of stuff like this. And those are the comments I really enjoy seeing. I love receiving feedback. I love when people, leave their own experience and say what they would do differently, or what they found helpful, and especially when people help each other in the comment section. That's awesome. But there's also the dark side of the comment section, where you have some people who are so self-centered and narcissistic that if the video isn't perfectly tuned to their liking, then they don't want to watch it, or they would rather spend, as much time as it would to watch the video writing a novel of things that they would do differently instead of going out there and making their own video with an iPhone camera, because all this stuff is accessible nowadays. And of course, that's another vocal minority that doesn't represent the majority of what's happening. But the point is, we can talk about all this stuff all day long. The behavior of people does not change, whether we're talking about regular television or guitar content or the most technically focused hobby or the ones that are most accessible. And that's something that it's taken me a long time to learn. But as I go through different stages in life, whether I was a toddler building Lego sets, to playing video games, to computer hardware, to guitar gear, it's all the same. I keep moving on from one thing to the next because, there's so much vitriol, or you get caught up in all the negativity, or you see, oh, this one thing I used to enjoy, now they're just using it as a cash cow. Still, there's a part of me that sort of sympathizes with the audience's viewing habits because, as I've touched on before, a lot of these guitar gear reviews and demos are glorified advertisements, and people aren't disclosing it. Again, I have no problem with sponsored content. You got to make a living. Just let me know it's an ad. And I don't think this is happening across a majority of the channels, or even a plurality for that matter, but it does happen, and people are probably sick of it. And that's why, to the best of my ability, I try to disclose my personal feelings about things, especially if I've had a product for a long time. But just try to be straight-faced and analytical and objective about everything, whether I've bought something with my own money, or have had it for a long time, or it's on loan to me. And that's all I would expect out of anyone else. And I would say there's plenty of content and even news that technically fall into these bad word categories that are of high effort and well worth watching. Something like the Sweetwater World Record pedal board. That is super cool, super interesting. Learn a few things here and there as well. Is it a gimmick? Absolutely. No one's going to do that stuff in real life, but high effort and it's a super cool thing. That's the whole reason they're doing it. It's a world record. Something like Rob Chapman's delay video, where they emulate, I guess, analog delay, you could call it, by having 3 acoustic guitarists play offset from one another. That's a gimmick. I mean, no one's going to do that for real in a live environment or recording, but it is super interesting and technically skilled, and all these things that make enjoyable or informative content. Is someone saying, oh wow, over top of a music video, one of those things? I wouldn't argue in favor of that. To wrap this up with a few succinct thoughts then, if you, as an instrumentalist or a music producer or a gear collector, think that our hobby exists outside of the lowest common denominator mob mentality, then you're wrong. And I was wrong, because I used to put, this particular hobby of mine on some pedestal, like, oh, everyone's so great to one another, we're just working together to make awesome music. And the harsh reality is people are people, and the same drama and crap that follows anything else follows this too. Now, we can sit here and have a pity party all day, but I say all this to say there's some truth in the adage of just shut up and play guitar. And I'm going to do more of that. Aside from selling off a bunch of stuff I've not used in like 6 months or so, one of my New Year's resolutions, it's contrived, but I'm going to try this year, is to just sit down and practice guitar more. That's something that I don't do a whole lot anymore. I'll, play my heart out when I'm making videos and recording music, but just sitting down and, getting my fingers loose and having a good time, I don't do it enough anymore. And I've regressed in playing in some ways since I was even like 16 years old. Got a lot better in other ways too, but I want to do more of that. And it's, watching stuff like that pedal show or Leon Todd or many of the other ones that I have recommended here that make me inspired to pick up a guitar and go play. And that's the stuff that's what I want to make. That's the content I want to inspire other people to make. And when we get caught up in all this other negative stuff, or, low effort drama that surrounds this industry, there's nothing better at making me want to hang up a guitar and just do nothing with my time. So, and I guess that's the ultimate message here. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. You know, don't let it get to your head. And that's advice I need to follow more closely myself, because there are times where I can't help but be a little discouraged when a video that, you know, I put 35 minutes worth of effort into compared to 8 hours plus gets 10 times the views, whereas the other video actually presented some data that I don't think gets talked about enough and can be actually helpful. But it's the way it is. So yeah, I guess that about does it. Let me know what you think. Am I like totally out of touch here? Am I the only one completely sick of reaction videos getting more views than the video that they're reacting to, or all this drama that's fabricated out of thin air half the time? I don't know. Maybe I'm just old now. I do have a couple gray hairs. As long as I have hair, I guess I won't complain too much. Anyway. Thanks for watching. As always, any other questions or comments, please leave them down below, and we'll see you next time. Bye.